Okay, this will be the second time I've tried to make this video. Uh, the devil's attacking everybody, everywhere, stronger than I've ever seen. Um, but doesn't mean we don't have to fight. Okay, in my second video, I had told you how I had encountered this thing that called itself God, but I didn't believe him. I thought he was an alien from an alien city that I had seen, trying to take over the earth for whatever reason. I had started going to this church that Wendy had introduced me to, or shown me. I thought for sure it was controlled by aliens. I had checked out the cross and beat on it and banged on it and kicked on it and tried to find the wires to run into the transmitter. I could feel, because of the things that were, because of the abilities that I had, basically the things that were inside me, I could feel the power coming out of this cross. I could almost see it. I could definitely see the effect that it was having on these people. Let me stop for 1 minute. Lord, help me. So, me and this thing that called him God, we had begun this battle of thoughts. He would ask me what I thought about this, and I'd tell him what I thought, and he would tell me what he thought. And we were doing this on a lot of things. Everything from, you name it, everything. I mean, there wasn't nothing we wasn't talking about. And we weren't debating. It was a sharing of information. And just explaining things. This thing was smart beyond anything I had ever encountered. But I would expect that with an alien. It got down to the point that after 3 or 4 weeks, the summer was over. Hang on 1 minute. Okay, the summer was over. Wendy had already gone back to school, which broke my heart. Really didn't have nobody to talk to about this. She was scared of me, and she probably had every right to be. Seeing what little bit she was picking up about what was going on, and whatever God was telling her, I don't have a clue. It was kind of crazy. It got to the point where I basically felt alone. Nobody at the school could figure anything out. Now, I'm still going to the school at night in my projected being. The teacher that I had was completely lost, almost afraid. I mean, even to this day, I don't have a clue what they understood or didn't understand about what was going on then. It is possible that everything they said was true, that they didn't understand what was going on. But it's also possible that they did understand. But Wendy had done gone back to school. Summer had ended. I had changed places where I worked. There was a little restaurant called Annie's. It was right after you come on to the island, Carolina Beach. And there was it was supposed to be a Christian restaurant. And there was 3 or 4 ladies there that were Christian ladies. One of them, name was Debbie. Now, Debbie was from California. And she talked a lot of strange stuff that I really didn't understand. I didn't have no idea about it, but I knew that the Bible talked about some of these things. You know, spiritual entities and stuff like that. You know, like Mary Magdalene, how Jesus had cast so many things out of her. And one of them was actually called the strong man. Now, the way I understood that was one big dog and a bunch of little dogs. You know, like a person with little dogs running around their feet biting at them, and whatever dog happens to bite, they bark like that. Whether it be jealousy or anger or lust or whatever, all of these things, these major things, I looked at as little dogs. Big dogs was something different, like murder or drug addiction or anything that would be big, that would be a real controlling type of thing. The Bible called these spirits. And I'm not saying they're not spirits. I'm just saying that that's what the Bible called them. And Debbie gave me these books to read. And these books were crazy. They thought everything from a headache to a backache or a pimple was a demonic attack. I mean, it was just literally hundreds of thousands of different entities that they believed existed. And I knew this couldn't be like this. There was no way that this world was set up like that. But I understood that there could be some things that were demonic, what the Bible called demonic, spiritual attacks. Now, I didn't know the right from wrong here. I had been in the school, and I don't know if I actually told you. No, I need to back up and tell you. Okay, after 3 or 4 weeks of this debating with this thing that called itself God, that I laughed at him, it got to the point, I mean, the girls from Colway were going back to school. I really didn't have anybody that I could confide in. The preacher at the church that I had encountered this thing was looking at me like weird. Just say weird. I knew I was basically beat on this level. I had lost everything I wanted as far as Wendy, because you know when your heart oh boy, goes out like that, somebody, it's out of your control, plain and simple. I knew that the only way I was going to be able to defeat this thing, that thought he was God, was to get to the realm that I thought he was in. Now, if you practice astral projection, you understand the different realms. And there's more than one. So we believe. There may only be one now that I understand the way things work. And I knew I was whipped here. The only thing that I could do was kill myself. I mean, that was the only way that I would be able to leave my body in strength enough to get somewhere to encounter this entity. I mean, I was whipped. So, I had went to church that night, and I came in, and I wasn't getting anywhere closer to figuring out this entity at all. I mean, I had seen this city coming. I had believed in aliens all my life. And I believe that this was part of the takeover. So the only way that I could see that I could continue this battle was to kill myself. Richard, my next door neighbor, my best friend, was a gun collector. He had, God, I don't know how many guns. So I thought, okay, I'll go tell Richard I seen a rat in the backyard, I need a pistol. And I don't like the idea of slashing your wrist. That takes too long, and it's too messy. Okay? So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm going, okay, that's the only thing to do. I mean, I've lost everything else. I still got this battle. I'm not a loser. Got to do what I got to do. So I'm sitting here. I'm just before getting up and going over to Richard's, and this thing, like he always did, whenever he wanted to, he'd come just storming in the front door. And even though he was not around in what you would call power all the time, it's like he always knew what I was thinking, which I didn't really understand. Okay. So I'm sitting here, and you have to understand the mind of a fighter. What I had been programmed was to do whatever it took to win a battle, regardless of the cost. So I'm right before going over to Richard's, get a gun, and do what had to be done. This thing came right in the front door, like he always did, whenever he wanted to. And he said one sentence. He came in the front door. And he was never one to beat around the bush. Don't get me wrong. He was pretty much direct to the point. But now he would lead you up to seeing things. He just came in and he said one sentence. He said, if you take her life, you'll never get... if you take her life, you'll never get to love Wendy. Well, you wouldn't think that one little sentence will have that much power in it. When he said that, you know these things they call an epiphany, where you have this moment of clarity or understanding. It's almost like a supernatural seeing of things. I realized that I had been set up and played like a basketball and beat like a drum by God. It's a strange thing when you realize that you're beaten, you're defeated. But at the same time, you realize it's not the end of the world. I had been raised in a church. I knew everybody done bad things, good things. It's just what life was all about, learning. And I knew that what I had just learned was a big one. Like I knew what to do then. Number one, you acknowledge He is God. Plain and simple. You acknowledge you've been wrong, and you ask Him to forgive you. And He does. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I didn't hit my knees and cry like a baby. But it was what I needed to do. And God's not one to linger on things. You tell Him you're wrong and you're sorry and ask Him to forgive you, He moves on. You have trouble moving on sometimes, but He don't. He's true to His word. Well, it's probably took a couple hours. I mean, just show me how wrong I was, where. But it got done. And it felt good. I mean, the intelligence that it takes to set you up like that, to bring everything to bear on you, just to crack you like an egg. We can't even comprehend that. Well, it got done. Now, I'm not saying that everything from that minute was the easiest thing in the world. Things got a little bit difficult when you were involved in the school that I was involved in, and the theology that I had come out of. But the thing that helped me the most, was the way I had been raised. The Bible says, bring a child up in the way he should go, and when he's older, he will return to it or something. I forget exactly how it says. But those seeds were planted. So once you realize that your worldly things have been wrong, you got something to fall back on. And I mean, my mom had died when I was 6 by my stepmother, who don't get me wrong, I fought with big time. She stood her ground and she made us go to church, study the Bible, read the Bible every night. So the seeds were planted for me to understand and interpret what was going on. And understanding. So, how long have I been doing this? Ooh, I got just a couple minutes. Okay. So, I met God, He kicked my butt. And I'm having trouble getting in with the religious people, and I didn't understand why. But I'll get into that in the next video. There was things yet to happen. Before things got a lot easier. Only because I had gotten in as far away from God as I had. But, okay, I'm going to stop this one here. And I will start the next one in a few minutes. Try to have me a good cry. Okay.